Welcome to VSM Kea podcast, where our CEO N.Krishnamurthy and COO Ms. R.Priya will share their views on various topics of interest related to pharma industry, especially to sales and marketing teams. We look forward to receiving your views and thoughts on our VSM Kea podcast episodes.
Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listeners. Priya and Krish here again. Welcome to our third episode of the podcast series covering omnichannel. Hi, Krish. How are you?
Fine. Thank you. How are you?
I am good.
It's great to be in touch again to do these episodes.
True. Nice to collaborate with you on the series, face to face instead of the long distance that we have been doing so far. Pandemic sure feels like a distant dream.
Yep. Hopefully the pandemic is well past behind us now. But the change it has brought about in the way we all work, especially in the pharma industry, has been a game changer. As we have been discussing from time to time, we moved from single channel and then on to multi-channel and now on to omni-channel. It'll be interesting to see how all this pans out.
Krish, last time we spoke about building an omni-channel call plan, if you recollect.
Good that you reminded me. It's been such a long time. Yeah, we have covered a lot of aspects of omni-channel marketing in pharma.
Yeah, there has been a delay in the series. I had to take time out to exercise my voice. Do you see any improvement? Okay, don't answer that. Since we spoke about call plan design, why not touch on call plan adherence?
Yep, in fact, that's what I thought we would discuss today. Funnily enough, recently a senior marketing guy that I spoke to in the pharma industry told me that whenever he talks to his MRs and asks them how they are adhering to their call plans, the simple answer is, sir, it's only a plan. We can't stick to those plans anyway. No, but on a serious note, you would realize that anything that we want to do, it's good to plan it out.
True.
And so also for a pharma MR's routine for a month, there has to be a plan.
So now that we have justified the reasons for making a plan, how do we measure adherence? Especially with all the complications of multi-channel engagement, it seems a little difficult task.
Look, I'll share my thoughts, but ultimately it's each company, how much they want to do is a call that they have to take. In the old days, call plan and measuring CPAR. CPAR is Call Plan Adherence Ratio.
Okay.
It was pretty simple. It simply divide the total number of actual calls by the planned calls. And there you have a percentage or a ratio.
Okay.
But now that it's not just face-to-face, it's far more difficult.
Okay. But if it's not just face-to-face anymore, that we all know.
Yeah, so you remember we spoke about a concept called call equivalence, where you essentially equate all modes of calls, let's say a virtual meeting or an approved mail or any other mode or any other channel that's used. You reduce all that to a call equivalent based on taking face-to-face as a baseline of, let's say, 1. Then your CRM tool should capture plans channel-wise and also the actual calls for each channel type, along with all the other data. Of course, when I say all the other data, e-detailing, what was detailed, and all that also has to be captured. Now you have a CPAR, the adherence ratio, for an HCP for each communication channel in the omni-channel strategy.
Okay.
So face-to-face maybe, let's say, 75% met. Emails maybe 130%. Virtual meetings maybe, let's say, 150% for that particular HCP.
God, Krish, then how do we come up with the overall CPAR?
Yeah, so we go back to the same logic. You weight all the calls done and you've already weighted all the calls planned. So the weighted actual calls divided by the weighted planned calls would be your CPAR.
Okay, hold on. If I am an MR, I can just sit at home and send hundreds of approved mails and make calls and score a good CPAR without ever having to see the doctor face to face.
Try doing that. Let's see what happens to the RX and the sales numbers.
Yeah.
No, it's really not possible. But on a serious note, this is where the CPAR algorithms will come into play. Let's remember that globally, it's now accepted that there would be an omni-channel strategy. But still, basically, the industry thinks all over the globe that face-to-face calls are pillars, and what happens in between through other channels are more of reinforcements of the same message that was done through face-to-face. So if you visualize this, you have one face-to-face call and then multiple other modes of reaching the HCP, followed by the next face-to-face call. So this whole cycle is literally one cycle of delivery of message. And when you do that, all other calls are converted into face-to-face. Now, coming back to your point, can you get away with not having a face-to-face call at all? Maybe you can build in the algorithm that if there is no face-to-face call at all other calls, for example, have a lower weightage or are treated as null and so on. So that's a function of how you define the actual algorithm.
Okay, so you're basically saying at least one face-to-face call per doctor would be something that could be made mandatory in the system. That is one way of looking at it.
I would definitely recommend that a company does that.
Okay. How does one take corrective actions in time? After all, throwing a lot of CPAR data after the month ends is not going to help the manager or the MR. So what do we do during the month on an ongoing basis?
Absolutely. Just like any other measure, there's no point in measuring it at the end of each month because it's too late to take action. So if I were an area manager, and I would hate to be one because that's a real tough job. It's easier to be a national sales manager than an area manager. If I were an area manager, I would look at, can an MR meet his CPAR across all channels for all HCPs? Very tough. So I would measure that. And wherever he is along that journey, I would try to help him to meet that. If that looks very difficult or impossible, then I would look at, can he at least meet the CPAR for, let's say, in the Indian context, A category doctors who are the important doctors and so on. So this is a call that the area manager has to take. But you're right. We have to measure the CPAR continually through the month, take corrective action. Only then the result at the end of the month is something that's good.
But how on earth can the area manager do all this analysis and also take action? He has to be a superhuman to analyze call data across HCPs, channels, possibly across brands and on an ongoing basis. And he also has to chip in where there's a vacant territory. So what does the manager do?
So are you saying, can we go back and use a ledger and plot all this? The answer is an absolute no. So I think we have to keep reminding ourselves that it's no longer a simple reporting tool that you need. You need a solid a commercial excellence application or a CRM application that can handle all this. So yes, to answer your point, without good automation, all this is not possible at all.
Thank you, Krish. It was great fun. The interaction was very interesting. Thank you, listeners. Hope to
Thanks a lot. Yeah, great. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And what we intend to do going forward is also talk about how AI plays a part in all this, artificial intelligence. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.